Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Kaiya, and today I'm going to be sharing some albums that are releasing in 2024 that you should know about. Now, I know I just recently did my January releases video for my Metal Monthly series, but that video inspired me to make this one as kind of like a broad spectrum of releases that are both officially announced and some that are to be determined. So this video is going to be split up into two different parts. The first one is going to consist of albums that all have been officially announced, okay, with release dates and everything. The second part is going to be all the to be determined albums. The one thing they all share is that there is no official release date. Without further ado, let's get into the list. The very first band on the list is going to be Saxon. This is a band that I actually just heard about from my January releases video. They are releasing an album called Hellfire and Damnation. This is coming out January 19th via Silver Lining Music, and it's their 24th studio album. How crazy is that? Saxon is a new wave British heavy metal band from the UK. For those of you that do not know, they've been consistently releasing records since their debut, and they've really only had about 2 years or so in between albums. And recently, they have been releasing full-length studio albums back to back since 2021. So definitely highly anticipating this album. Definitely going to be on my radar. So yeah, that's Saxon for ya. Number 2 on this list is going to be Job for a Cowboy with their new record, Moon Healer. This is coming out February 23rd via Metal Blade Records, and this is their first album in 10 years. Old school deathcore death metal band, for those of you that are not familiar. Metal Archives said that they are more prog death metal now, which I guess is true. I've really only listened to their most recent single promoting this record, which was called The Agony Seeping Storm, and I got deathcore vibes mixed with the tech death band of Archspire, so it's kind of within that realm. Their previous record, Sun Eater, which came out in 2014, did receive decent reviews on Metal Archives with an average rating of about 70%, but this is a really big release for fans of Job for a Cowboy. It's a really big release for this band specifically because it's, like I said, been 10 years. So I am curious as to how this record is going to sound, how people in the deathcore scene are going to view it. Are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to hate it? And I'm interested to see how it does. Number 3 is Ministry. They are releasing Hopium for the Masses, all one word, on March 1st via Nuclear Blast Records. This one will be interesting, considering Ministry is one of the founders of industrial metal. This is going to be their 16th studio album, so another big band in the metal industry. Now, overall, I really haven't heard that much from Ministry. I do remember enjoying their sound and their overall look in my reaction to them that's on this channel. Their previous album, Moral Hygiene from 2021, received an average rating of 70%. So you typically enjoyed the previous album, but like I said, I just don't know much about their sound and discography to really say much about this record. Number 4 really doesn't need much of an introduction, but Judas Priest will be releasing Invincible Shield on March 8th via Sony Music. This is their 17th albums. So just like Ministry, old school, nothing to prove metal band. Judas Priest is a huge name that is releasing something this year. This is going to be quite a big deal. Their latest single, Panic Attack, was actually pretty decent in my opinion. Rob Halford is still kicking it as their lead singer, and I really hope for much success for this record. I personally think that people don't have like ridiculously high expectations for this album, but it's not in a bad way. It's like we already know Judas Priest. We already know how they sound. They really don't have to prove anything. They could retire until Rob Halford inevitably dies, and I think people would be okay with that. They could keep touring and releasing music, and people would be okay with that, you know. So they don't have anything to prove. I think people will enjoy this record as sort of like a novelty, you know. Number 5 is a band that I actually just recently listened to in one of my Twitch listening parties, which if you didn't know, I do stream on Twitch on Wednesdays, and we do a live music listening party, which is really fun. And so I had one of my Discord members send me a song from DragonForce. Now they are releasing a brand new record called Warp Speed Warriors on March 15th via Napalm Records. This is a London, UK based band, power metal, and this is their 9th studio album. So I'm actually quite excited about this record. I know power metal is very hit or miss for a lot of people, usually a miss. For me, I'm kind of in the middle ground. It really, really depends. However, I actually enjoyed DragonForce, at least what they had to offer with the song I heard. So I will be checking out this record. Number 6 is going to be Skeletal Remains. They're releasing Fragments of the Ageless, coming out March 8th via Century Media Records. Now, this is a really great death metal band. I did get to see Skeletal Remains with Suffocation and Incantation last November, and I was quite excited about it. Now, I did say in my review of that show that Skeletal Remains was a little bit boring, but overall I do enjoy the sound. I feel like the performance was okay, but I did enjoy the sound. Now, Skeletal Remains is a band that I think is surprising a lot of people, and in my personal opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like they kind of came out of the woodwork a little bit. They're really impressing people. So I'm hoping that this album does really well. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy Skeletal Remains, so I have really high hopes for this record. It's definitely going to be on my radar. This next band I have not heard, but I have heard of, and that is Necrophobic with their song In the Twilight Gray. This is coming out March 15th, also via Century Media Records. Now, this is a death black metal band from Sweden with their last record, Dawn of the Damned, coming out in 2020. So this is 4 years since their last record. I am looking forward to checking this out. I've been getting into a lot more like black crossover metal bands as of late, as you've probably known based on my, deep dives into Deceased and Barbados and Abigail. So this I think is going to be interesting, a death black band from Sweden. So I'm excited for Necrophobic. If you know more about Necrophobic, let me know down below in the comments. Are you excited about this release? I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, so those were the albums that have been officially announced. So this next section of the video, these are going to be albums that are still to be determined. They are not 100% confirmed. They do not have official release dates, but for most of these, it's a very strong chance that we will be seeing an album from these bands this year. So number 8 on this list, number 1 for this section, will be Deicide and their latest record, Banished by Sin. Now, that is the official title of the record, but there is just no official release date yet for this album. Deicide announced a lot with this record. Deicide is, again, another legendary death metal band that doesn't have to prove anything, but 2023 was such an iconic year for metal release because they will be competing with King Diamond. Yes, The Institute. This is King Diamond's next album, and this is an official album title. There is no official release date, but I can tell you right now, if this album does get released in 2024, it will be the biggest album being released this year, bar none. And it could be an even bigger release overall than even anything that was released in 2023. And you can hold me to that, okay? Now, this is an article about this record. It's from Blabbermouth with a quote from King Diamond's guitarist Andy LaRocque, who said, "The Institute, which will be King Diamond's first studio LP in 17 years, is tentatively due in 2024 via Metal Blade. It will be made available as a 2 LP horror concept story, with the second part arriving at a later date. I sent King Diamond a bunch of songs like a year and a half ago, and we started working on them arrangement wise and all that. And then Merciful Fate came in between. They did their summer tour in Europe and also a US tour, and then they're going to record like a single or two, I believe. And as soon as they're done with that, we're going to go back and pick up where we ended with King Diamond." So essentially, what we are hopefully getting this year is not only a brand new King Diamond record, but also a couple new Merciful Fate singles. I'm telling you, this will be the biggest, most iconic release of 2024 if King Diamond can get this done. Another legendary death metal band is hinting about a 2024 release, and that is Morbid Angel. Now, early last year in 2023, it was hinted that Morbid Angel would be releasing something either late 2023 or 2024. So obviously they didn't have any new releases last year, so the time is now, okay? I did try to find out more information about this release, but it looks like it has just been hinted around. Bassist Steve Tucker said in an interview that he is hoping that the band can actually do it. He said the guys have talked about it and are figuring out what the next steps are. There are also articles about Morbid Angel booking studio time in 2023, so I'm assuming we will get more information as time goes on this year, but I am a bit concerned because, as some of you may know, Trey Azaglock, however you pronounce his last name, did have recent health concerns in their last tour in April with Crypta. Trey did pass out. I know he struggles with alcoholism, so by now I'm assuming obviously he's like fine and recovered from that, but I'm just hoping that that scenario did not affect or push back any sort of recording process too much, because I would love to see another legendary death metal band release something this year. I think people would really be looking forward to a new Morbid Angel album. I know I would. So number 11 is Defeated Sanity. They just signed with Season of Mist in November and announced it officially that same month in 2023. Now, they are currently working on their 7th studio album / their first actual album with Season of Mist. Now, Defeated Sanity, since signing to Season of Mist, they are joined with new guitarist Vaughn Stoffey. The band are hard at work on their 7th album, which will come out sometime in 2024. They're also playing next year's Maryland Death Fest with new label mates Severe Torture and Brodequin. Here's a quote from the band. They say, "We are extremely pleased to announce our signing to Season of Mist. We want to thank Willowtip for their contributions to Defeated Sanity's legacy. Looking back, it has been quite a journey for us. The band has musically grown immensely over the years, and so has our fan base. We are ready to start our next chapter under the Season of Mist banner and have never been more committed to delivering the finest blend of technical and brutal death metal that's ever been brought forth. More album details coming soon." So definitely, I think we will be seeing a new album from Defeated Sanity, considering they did just sign that contract and announced it in November of last year. But I would definitely say they are very much in the early stages of recording. So we might see a summer release, but I think it would probably be more reasonable to see a fall release from Defeated Sanity. So I'm excited about this. If there is one band in this list that I don't think is actually going to release something in 2024, rather have something come out in 2025, that would be the band Gojira, specifically because they have stated that they are the type of musicians who really take their time with their record. Based on this article from ultimateguitar.com, this was an interview with Gojira's frontman and guitarist Joseph Duplantier, and he offered this to say. He said, Mario, his brother and also the drummer for Gojira, was very busy recording drum patterns and song structures over the pandemic period. And I, Joseph, have a few new things also, but we're not really in a writing the next album situation right now. We're just sending a few ideas to each other here and there. Right now, I feel like I squeezed myself like a lemon for Fortitude. That's their previous record. And I have nothing left in the tank. I believe that the slow process is best for us. Some bands just pump out new music with lightning speed, and from what I've seen with a few bands, it's not a good vibe. In fact, it's very stressful and can cause bands to implode. I don't want that to happen to Gojira. I want to take it slow and do the very best that we can do when it comes to writing music and lyrics. So yeah, I think that Gojira is just going to be taking their time with this next record, which I think is fine and respectable because they still release albums consistently enough to give their fans something. So I genuinely don't think we're going to get new Gojira, but people are saying that there is a tentative release. However, in my personal opinion, I think we'll see something new from them in 2025. Now, if you are surprised to see Ozzy Osbourne on this list, you really shouldn't be, because apparently, the grandfather of metal can't seem to retire no matter how many times he may announce that he is. Following the release of Patient Number 9, Ozzy Osbourne says he is ready to go back into the studio and record a new album that he is hoping to release in 2024. In this article, it says, despite having announced earlier this year that his touring days were over due to health issues, Ozzy Osbourne is not slowing down. In fact, the former Black Sabbath singer stated in a new interview with Metal Hammer that he is planning to record and release the follow-up to last year's Patient Number 9 in 2024. Ozzy Osbourne said, I'm getting myself fit. I've done 2 albums fairly recently, 2020's Ordinary Man and 2022's Patient Number 9, both produced by Andrew Watt, but I want to do one more album and then go back on the road. Oh, Ozzy. Ozzy also said that he hopes to reunite with Watt on his new record, which will be tracked at his home studio in the UK. He said, I'm just starting to work on it now and we'll be recording in the early part of next year. I want to take my time with this one. Now, this was in September of last year. And Ozzy, I mean, again, this is Ozzy Osbourne we're talking about, okay? He doesn't have to prove anything. Everybody loves Ozzy Osbourne. He really is the grandfather of metal. He's a character. We love him. Am I excited about a possible new Ozzy Osbourne record? I want him to be happy. I want him to pursue his dreams because I think it's very admirable, and it's just, you know, can't stop, won't stop attitude. So I personally did not listen to Patient Number 9. I heard some decent reviews on it. But again, like I've said, Ozzy doesn't have to prove anything. The album could be trash and people would still love him. So number 14 is going to be quite a shocker if it actually happens. This is Gorguts. Yes. Tech death legends Gorguts haven't released a new album since their last record in 2013 called Colored Sands, which was also their first record in 12 years. But it looks like 2024 is tentatively the year that changes this. Now, guitarist Luke LeMay did say he is going to start working on a new album after this fall tour with Cannibal Corpse. He said, "I took a long break from composition. My mind was just not into it, and I didn't feel like I had anything to say, but now I have a clearer vision of what I want to do, so it will be an easier task to do." Now, y'all know how I feel about Gorguts. I did a reaction to them. I was a little, honestly, displeased with how often they had released records. You may think it's weird, but I just think it's a disservice to the fans of Gorguts. I mean, 12 years of waiting around for a new album, and now here we are, 11 years again since the last record that Gorguts has released. Now, just like I said with Gojira, I understand musicians need time to feel like they have something to say. I'm in the exact same boat, okay? I haven't released an album in like 6 years myself, so I get it. I don't have a lot of high hopes for Gorguts to release something anytime soon. If there's one band out of Gojira or Gorguts releasing something, I'd put my money on Gojira over Gorguts because their track record for releasing albums consistently is not there. Incantation is number 15. Now, they should be releasing a new album in the fall of 2024. Guitarist and vocalist Paul Riedel tells Decibel magazine that listeners can expect a megalithic whirlwind of powerful, atmospheric death metal integrating all aspects of our sound into a compelling and potent mixture of epic, raging, and brutal riffing with heavy cosmic prog, krautrock, and psychedelic ambient experimental music. Talk about a tongue twister. It is simultaneously our most aggressive and intense album ever, while also being our most atmospheric and progressive. Now, if there's one band that is kind of a hipster metal band, or I guess like a new death metal band to the scene, it would be 200 Stab Wounds. Now, I'm actually excited about this record. I enjoyed the few songs that I listened to of 200 Stab Wounds in my Twitch stream. They should be releasing a new album this year under their new label contract with Metal Blade Records. Cleveland death metalers 200 Stab Wounds signed to Metal Blade Records back in 2022, and they recently confirmed that their sophomore album will come out on the label in 2024. There will be more details to be announced, but in the meantime, we can listen to their new single, Masters of Morbidity. I would be very much interested in checking out this release if they do release something. I think, Metal Blade is such a big record label and they really focus on like consistent releases. So I'm excited to hear what they deliver with 200 Stab Wounds. So definitely going to keep that record under my radar, but not as much as I will be keeping number 17, which will be Black Dahlia Murder. Now, this is probably going to be another huge release, and just something that's going to be really meaningful for a lot of people in the metal community. There's no definitive release date. There's no definitive title for this record. Now, after more than a year since the death of founding vocalist Trevor Strnad and announcing they would continue in memory of him, the Black Dahlia Murder are in the studio recording a new album for a 2024 release. The follow-up to 2020's Verminous is being recorded by Mark Lewis and will be their first release with founding guitarist Brian Eschbach on vocals, and their first with returning guitarist Ryan Knight since 2015's Abysmal. Now, this picture was shared on the band's Instagram page back on November 11th of 2023. The news of the record was broke by drummer Alan Cassidy, who wrote on his Instagram with this picture, literally just finished drums for the Black Dahlia Murder's 10th album and number 5 for me. And to say I'm exhausted is an understatement. So pumped for you all to hear it. Very proud of what we've written, and it is some of my favorite stuff we've done so far. I wish Trev could hear it because I think he'd be just as proud and excited, if not more so. Huge thank you to Mark Lewis for recording and housing us all for the last 2 weeks and working his ass off, making sure that these drums sounded nothing short of amazing. Very much looking forward to this and everything else to come in 2024. Now, I recently listened to this band last year. I have basically every single record on vinyl and CD, and this is Savatage with their new record, Curtain Call. Now, this is a working title, as John Oliva puts it, so whether or not they keep it, we don't know. There is no official release date, but he did say that this would probably be the last record that Savatage will ever make. Hopefully when they release it, I can complete my collection, just like the King Diamond and Merciful stuff. I enjoy Savatage. Y'all know how I feel about it. Another band who just had a major announcement happen in the fall of last year, and that is Dream Theater, who are set to release a follow-up album to their 2021 release, A View from the Top of the World. This will be a very special album and one that many Dream Theater fans are going to be anticipating, as this will be the first new record with original drummer Mike Portnoy, who is now officially back in the band. And it was announced, like I said, in the fall of last year that he rejoined, which really broke the internet for the metal community. So this is going to be huge. I would assume that they would be coming out with a record either late 2024, if not 2025, now that Mike is back in the band. It's really hard to say. Last on my list is going to be Egyptian death metal gods Nile, who are working on their 10th studio album, which will hopefully be released this year. South Carolina's Egyptian-themed death metal titans Nile are continuing to work on their 10th studio album for a tentative 2024 release. On Monday, October 16th, Nile shared a video of the band's driving force, Carl Sanders, laying down vocals for the new LP, and it included the following message: "We are diligently working every day on vocals for the upcoming album. It's going to be brutal." This past June, Sanders spoke to Headbangers Latino America about the progress of the recording sessions for Nile's 10th studio album. When asked how the studio work is coming along, Carl said, "Very well. Nile's drummer George Callias finished all his drums. He did an amazing job. When people hear this, they are not going to believe that it's a real live human doing all this stuff. But it is George." So he's done probably the best album of his career with this new Nile record. Now it's our turn playing guitars. So just a quick honorable mentions. I know for a fact that there's been some hints about bands like Amaranth, Rotting Christ, Anthrax, Nightwish, and Exodus all planning on releasing something this year. So let me know down below if there were any releases that I missed, either ones that have been officially announced or other bands that have just been kind of hinting around about a release. Obviously, you know, I will be continuing my Metal Monthly series this year, so you will hear some of these bands be mentioned again in that series, but I'm really excited. It's looking like 2024 is going to be an exciting year for metal releases, especially if King Diamond can actually get the Institute done. I think that will literally break the metal community internet that day. So some really exciting releases to look forward to. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, you guys.